And welcome back. So in this video here, what Lee's going to be doing is getting the GetAsset method implemented.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll get there. But like I said in the last video, odds are at the beginning of this video, we're going to go back and we're going to change this little.
I told you don't have to change it.
I want to. It's like,
Okay.
if I'm shown a better way, I will implement it. And I knew that this one wasn't right. I just didn't have time to go find a better way of dealing with it. So now that you've shown me the light, I will go and implement it. But it will require that we move system path calculation to a different location.
Okay.
We'll have to do it a little bit closer. Mostly because what we're going to do requires the system path as opposed to the Unity path. So we need that absolute path to our file. So I'm going to move that up there. I'm going to make a variable called file attribute. And this will be file.getAttributes. Actually, let's call it file attributes just to be consistent. And then we're going to send in system path as opposed to Unity path here. So what you were talking about before is that if we come into our condition and we say file attributes, and we're going to mask it or AND it with file attributes dot directory, and we check make sure that that does not equal a file attributes dot directory. So basically, we're taking our attributes, we're ending it with directory, and if we're not equal directory, then we know that we are indeed a file.
Right.
For you guys that aren't familiar with binary logic, basically we're saying, hey, if file attribute is 1 and we end it with 1, we're going to get 1 back. If we don't get 1 back, we must not be a directory. So we go into this condition, we go, hey, it's a file, deal with it accordingly. Else, we're doing our case in case because we've proven that it's a directory. Mm-hmm. And that is a more robust solution as opposed to checking for that dot extension, because somebody might decide to name a folder with a dot. And why they would ever want to do that, I have no idea, but just in case. So, all right, now let's get on to what we're here for.
Okay, and I'll be quiet. No more causing trouble today. I'm sorry, Lee.
You'll cause trouble if the mood strikes you. No matter what you say, I know you will. And if you don't, I'll just type something so outlandish you have to speak up.
Oh, unfair. Okay, so GetAsset. Let's go ahead and put that into play.
All right, let's start off by making a variable called temp.go for temporary game object. We're going to once again leverage the power of asset database. Now, this is a new one for some of you guys. If you've not messed around with asset database, you know that it is possible to instantiate prefabs or check for assets inside of a resources folder by calling on resources.load. There is another way of accessing that information by calling asset database. We can use these load methods to load assets from the hard drive directly. Now, the catch, though, is you can only do this in code that is executed inside of the editor. You can't call any of this asset database from something that you build out to a standalone program or a web player. Wish you could, but you can't. So we're going to be relying on this load main asset at path. Well, I don't want the main asset. I want the load asset at path. Basically, we're going to say, I'm going to give you a path. I want you to try to load the asset that is at that path. So we'll say path here. And then we need to do a check. It just basically says if temp game object does not equal null. And so if it's not equal to null, we need to do some stuff. So we're going to say debug.log. And I want to say including our path. Then we're going to add this asset to a list. We don't have that list yet, though, so we're going to need that list. So we're going to come up here. I'm going to make another private static. This will be, don't want to do game objects. No, I'm just going to go with the base object. Let's just do a static list of object, and we will call this list assets, appropriately enough. And let me get rid of system so it's not confused on what object I mean. All right. So once we've got that, we can say assets.add, and we're going to add our temp game object. Or, I don't like that naming it. I changed my mind. I'm going to call it asset. Why? Because I can.
Why? Because it sounds better. Makes more sense.
And also, I want to change this to asset path. It just reads nicer. So, and oh, that's why I said main. Never mind.
You did that last time too.
Yeah, I do that, don't I?
It's all good.
All right. So I'm still thinking about how to draw you out.
I knew it was going to let you know real quick. It's been a week since we've been at the computer, so it's good.
All right. Now, I can't do this yet, though. You know why? Because I haven't initialized that database, or that list database. Great. So if I were to try to execute that, I'd get some complaints. So I'm going to go ahead and say assets equals new list of objects. So now it won't explode when I do that part. So basically, if it's been found, we're going to add it to our asset list. If it can't find it, we're going to go ahead and do another debug log. This time I'll do a log warning that says could not find. Yeah, I see it. I'll get it.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm trying. All right, so basically, it's going to add it if it finds it. It's going to give us a warning if it can't find it.
Right.
So, but that is GetAsset, which currently will only work if we're in this part of the code. So if I jump over here, and let me go ahead and hit Control-R, kind of force it to rebuild. My extensions, build, and go down here, including our material. And then this is where we're actually building it. So
very good.
It seems to be working just fine. All right, so that is the simple bit of it. That's just for finding a single asset. And we're going to be using that in our next method, I think which is GetAssets, if I remember right.
Correct, it is.
Now, we're going to use GetAssets to deal with folders and recursion, and then it's going to leverage the power of GetAsset to find a single asset and add it. So,
okay.
But we'll deal with the recursion part of it in the next file, or the next video.
All right, so is that everything from this one?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that is going to wrap up this video, and we'll see you guys in the next.